Playtime, and we welcome a new member to the team. Michael Stafford is a Wilmington attorney. He's a syndicated op-ed columnist, and he's been featured on MSNBC. Michael, welcome.
Thank you. Very glad to be here.
And of course, State of Play regular Stephanie Hansen, an attorney with Young, Conaway, Stargett, and Taylor. Hi, Stephanie.
Hello.
We're going to start things off with some thoughts on Governor Markell. He's weighed in on this controversial data center in Newark that also comes with what some are calling a power plant. And so he has essentially said, this is why we have land use regulations. And he's kind of going against those who are protesting the data center coming to the Star campus over near UD. Michael, what do you think about what Governor Markell has said?
I mean, I think the governor's technically correct. It is really a land use issue with respect to what the use of the property is going to be. My understanding with the data center isn't that it's so much the server facility that's at the heart of a lot of the objections. It's the cogeneration plant, and particularly the noise that's going to be accompanying that on that site. That said, it is a property that has a long history of industrial uses. Obviously, as we all know, it was an auto plant for a number of years. Mm-hmm. There's a major rail line, the Northeast Corridor, Amtrak's Northeast Corridor, that's adjacent to the site, which is another major generator of noise. At the end of the day, I understand why residents might be concerned about having this power production facility located there, but at the same time, they did buy property that's adjacent to a major industrial site. I don't think the noise levels are going to be that substantially different from what they've been accustomed to in the past, and it would be appropriate for the governor to weigh in on that.
You know, my takeaway was that the residents in Newark were a little upset with the city government, that they felt that they weren't being as transparent as they could be. So for me, I think it's the protesters versus the city almost. It's more of that kind of issue. So Stephanie, do you think the governor should be weighing in on something that maybe on the surface is actually a city issue?
Well, I think it's appropriate for him to, yeah, I think it is. And I think really his job has been to go out and drum up business for the state. And he spent a lot of time and a lot of effort traveling all over the world trying to bring businesses in the state. That's kind of been the number one, his number one priority. And this is an example of doing precisely that. Now, whether that use then translates into an actual facility with jobs, that is a land use question, and that goes to the local jurisdiction, which in this case is the city of Newark.
Would you guys be happy if you guys were living there?
I would be. I mean, if I felt comfortable enough to live next to Chrysler, I'd certainly be comfortable enough to live next to the data center.
It's the same issue as with the Delaware City refinery and the rail yard. When you buy a house in the shadow of a refinery, when you buy a house adjacent to one of the busiest rail lines and a major industrial site, you're going to expect noise, you're going to expect those kind of issues. Some of us bought properties away and paid more for them to not be next to those sorts of land uses.
They probably felt, oh, you know, I'm sure that there was probably some folks that were thinking, well, this is great. Now Chrysler's gone, we get to clean it up. Mm-hmm. There is a huge cleanup that's going on. And they probably thought, well, now we don't have to worry about that anymore. Mm-hmm. But it's still zoned industrial, mm-hmm. you know, and it's still the site of potentially really good jobs.
We're going to keep it in Newark, go on to Bloom Energy. It's another high water mark for the Markell administration. But now comes word that Delmarva customers are going to be paying a lot more. Should people be angry, and are you guys angry?
I'm angry.
Okay.
But I'm angry more. I go back to the point in time when the deal was struck, mm-hmm. and the economic situation our state was facing at that moment, with the refinery shutting down, with two major employers, both our auto manufacturers, shutting down, with the number of job losses and with the very uncertain economic outlook we were facing at that time. And I think in that moment, Markell did what he needed to do to try to bring jobs back to Delaware. What angers me is a system that forces state governments and local governments to approach corporations in this search for jobs and for decent employment, almost in the manner of supplicants in ancient times on bended knees, offering various gifts and draws to try to get them to locate here. So I'm angry, but it's more at the systemic problems that lead to deals like Bloom in the first place than with the governor for what he did in the particular situation.
But don't other states do the same thing, and aren't we competing? We're playing the same game that all the other states are playing?
We are. Sometimes, though, if the game is rigged, maybe it's time to play a different game or to change the rules a little bit, to stop playing chess and start playing checkers. Mm-hmm. That obviously is a decision or is something that's going to take action either coordinated among the states or at the federal level. But we're in a situation now where every state is competing with everybody else, and it's about the best package deal that you can offer an employer like this. And the deals are going to be tax rebates, various other perks to get them to come here. That's the situation we're facing. And I think he did the best he could with the ball that was thrown into his court.
Mm-hmm. I mean, is this, though, just the price we have to pay to bring in jobs, Stephanie?
Well, only to a degree, I think. I think probably it's worth a real close look as to exactly what it was. Let's go back at this point, and what was it that was agreed to at the time, and how much higher can this really go? I mean, we're at the point now where I don't know that I'm angry, but I'm certainly wondering what's going on and how much higher this can go. So it's time to take a look at this point and see what was it that was agreed to.
I think a second basis for criticism of the deal is the impact on real renewable energy. I mean, part of the plan here, and one of the reasons why the Delmarva rate tariff is in place, is because, or the way it was marketed to us was, look, this is going to be cheaper than the renewables, solar, wind, that Delmarva is going to have to go out and purchase anyway under the law. Mm-hmm. And now permitting Delmarva to use natural gas, which isn't a renewable energy, no matter how efficient these fuel cells are, it's not wind and it's not solar. It's greener, but it's not green. To let them use purchases of these fuel cells as an offset, where they would have otherwise been buying wind or solar, I have a real problem with that. And I think long term, it undermines the push that we're trying to make towards more renewable energy sources here in Delaware.
Okay, we're going to move things along now. We have two attorneys on the set, so we have to ask about this. A trademark issue between Dogfish Head beer, which is in Delaware, and an Austin, Texas brewery. Okay, so the issue is Dogfish Head brews a beer named Namaste. Okay, and then this Texas brewery does as well. So who's right? I mean, Dogfish Head has trademarked Namaste, but what's the legal standing for both?
I mean, technically, Dogfish Head's in the right there. They've trademarked the use of that word on a particular product, and it's not just beer, it's beer or breweries. The location in Texas is a brewery. That said, my understanding is that Dogfish Head hasn't actually used it on a product in years. So it's a trademark that's sitting out there. I'm hopeful that the parties can resolve this for a nominal payment. I think bigger picture, you do have to question the ability of an entity, whether it's a brewery, whether it's a t-shirt manufacturer, to take very common words or phrases, put them on a particular product, and then trademark everybody else out of using those things. It's almost seems to me that a phrase like that should be in the commons and should be fair use to everybody.
So it's not like at the end of my yoga practice when we all say namaste, we are not infringing on any sort of trademark issue.
Only if you put it on your home brewed beer.
Okay. You know, it's just, the whole thing just kind of, like you were saying, it should be in this common place. It's sort of like these musicians wanting to, like Jay-Z and Beyonce, they want to trademark their daughter's name, Blue Ivy. How do we still have this sort of thing going on? and how do they get away with it?
Well, I don't know that they really do. You can sue anyone, you can claim anything, but in the end, are you really going to win? Like, I did a search on the word salute. Salute, I looked for salute beer because Namaste, I thought, well, you know, it's kind of a common phrase, salutes common. And I found all sorts of salute beer and brewery, salute beer productions. It's not a trademarked name, or if it is a trademark name and they may have raised it, it didn't work because it's a word that's in common usage. I think this is very close to the line, and maybe the reason why they haven't filed something necessarily is because it's a little too close, and the prospect of winning doesn't look as they don't look as confident about that.
It may not be worth the aggravation. Okay, thank you, Stephanie Hansen, Michael Stafford. Thanks so much for again being part of State of Play.